we teamed up with a guy from the University of Vermont, one of the world's leading sports physiologists, a guy named Dr. Declan Connolly. And Declan helped us write our athletic panel, which this has nothing to do with Y chromosomes or DNA. It really comes down to you're made up of 46 chromosomes. One of them is a Y chromosome, one of them is X chromosome. But you're made up of 46 chromosomes. You get 23 from mom and 23 from dad. They come together, each one of those chromosomes, when they match up with different genes. So if your eye color is blue, what does that mean? That just means that one nucleotide got thrown from mom and one got thrown from dad, and when they came together, let's say it's an A and an A makes blue eyes. I don't know if that's true. I think that's a dominant gene like brown, but let's just say blue eyes is the A and an A. Well, they come together and they give you blue eyes. And we don't think much about that. We say I have blue eyes. Well, everything else about your body, typically when you're going to lose your hair, how tall you're going to be, how long your fingers are going to be, they're just genes that came together. Boom, they match up and you're programmed. It's just a program that's run like a computer. Well, the same thing is true about sports. You know, when we look at different genes for sports, some people have, some people can be 7 feet tall and might be a good basketball player because they're 7 feet tall. Some people may be, 5 feet tall. They may be a good basketball player skill-wise, but they may not have the physical skills to really get in there against a 7-footer. So we can get a little bit more extreme now. And so with our athletic panel, we look at 10 different sports-specific genes, not ones that we came up with, ones that empirical science have said, have a direct correlation to sports. So we'll take the ACT3N gene, which is kind of famous. It was featured in the New York Times, one of the genes in our test. We explained it in our test. We talk about the implications and the repercussions that it has. So a good portion of Olympic sprinters have the combinations CC, you get a C from mom and a C from dad. Well, what is it? It's a muscle fiber gene, and we know that when you're CC, you're extremely explosive. I mean, that's the kind of muscle fiber that you have. We have, you can also have the nucleotides TT come together, because this is the only combinations are C's and T's in this gene. So you can have TT come together, and a good portion of Olympic and world-class marathon runners are TT. And then you can have the combination CT come together. And this is completely confidential. It's done all through barcodes, but I always tell people my results. So I'm a CT, so I'm partially explosive and I have good endurance. Now, I've tested world champions, guys that, competed that are currently still UFC world champions. And I can tell you that there are probably 2 that are CT. And I've seen one that's CC in that gene alone. So what does this all mean? We test for other things like VO2 max. We test for muscular endurance. Isometric strength is one of my favorite ones to talk about, because guys go into gyms all the time and they say, hey, I want to be isometrically stronger. I want to be able to hold and contract my muscles and squeeze a lot longer. And most strength and conditioning coaches would say, oh, I can fix that. Come to the gym and work with me. You know what I say to those guys? I say, okay, change your eye color to brown right now. And they look at you like you're nuts. And you're like, listen, you're trying to tell someone that, yeah, they have the ability to contract their muscles, but you're never really going to exceed whatever that max potential is. It's just impossible. So if you're bringing a guy into the gym and trying to get his isometric strength better, greater than the potential he can reach, I would tell the strength and conditioning coach, you're making a huge mistake. And then on the game plan, like former UFC champ, test him. He has very low isometric strength, right? So you can still be a UFC champ and have low isometric strength. This is a true story. And he comes to me, he goes, oh my God. He goes, are you kidding me? This is awful. I said, no, it's not. I said, what you have to do is get to your maximum potential for isometric strength, but your game plan has to reflect your genetics. So if you're trying to hold and squeeze and stay in that clinch for long periods of time, genetically, you're making a big mistake. Now, we can argue about this all you want to, but the reality is, isometrically, you don't have that ability. It's just not the way that you were built. So when we get to a real high level of martial arts, of any sport, it's just about getting 1% better. I mean, that's really what it's all about. So if you have in your arsenal the fact that, listen, I'm trapped in this clinch, I'm holding the guy, I'm on top of him, I'm squeezing him, transition out of that a lot quicker. Focus on your other strengths in your game plan and in your training. So, I mean, I could talk forever about Warrior Roots and stuff like that. It's very fascinating. I think it has bigger implications outside of mixed martial arts and other sports, to learn, understand your genetics. I have 4 kids, had them all tested. Now, granted, whenever you talk about someone's children, someone else's children, it can be a hot button. So, I'm very careful when I talk to parents and other people about this, because someone's kid may love cross-country running, and they may be cognitively fascinated by it. It may be just something that they love to do. But let's say now that we test them and they come out at a very early age, CC, right? And their body was built to explode, right? Like an Olympic sprinter, it was built to explode. So I would go and I would take that information to the parent and I would say, listen, I'm just telling you that your daughter, your son was not built to run 23 miles. They were not built that way. Now, by all means, encourage them, love them, make that part of their life, make it part of what they enjoy doing in life. But it's just good to know, I wouldn't say it's just good to know, it's important to understand that as they become more competitive, they've got to either adapt a game plan or they've got to take those strengths, and I don't ever like to say weaknesses because I don't think there are any real weaknesses. You got to take the strengths that they have and you have to focus, like so let's say they're a soccer player. So are they going to be a defender or are they going to be a forward? That's really the key. Now I've got all 4 of my own children tested, and I've had some very lively discussions with my daughter's gymnastics coach, and I see, because one of the things with sports teams is, I work out with the University of Vermont hockey team, great hockey team, Frozen Four a couple years ago, and they have a great program. And I go down there, and this happens this is a Division I hockey program, good kids, I mean, some of the best in North America. And they train them all the same way. They put them through the same exact circuits. I would never do that if I were a coach. I would have everybody tested, and I would break my kids up into clusters based on their genetics, and I would set up specific training for their genes. And I would say, look, you guys over here are defenders, you guys are forwards, you're a goalie, you're this, you're that. Let's develop a workout plan, a strength and conditioning plan for your genes, and not for the whole team, because then you got everybody getting 1% better, 2% better, 3% better. And it's kind of like an exponential curve, because it's not just the whole team getting 1% better, stronger, or the team getting 1% conditioned. Now this guy's getting 4%, this guy's getting 6%, and this guy's getting 3%, because they've never been trained that way before.